It's 2016 and we're back with more shows. Mike, you got any New Year's resolutions?
Hit the gym more, maybe find some better co-hosts.
You're watching Best of 3.
Awesome. Intense.
Welcome back to Best of 3. If you've been keeping count, before the new year, we had produced already 25 shows. Does it feel like that?
Oh, kind of right about that, actually.
Big Ray,
What's
how do you
up?
feel about it, man?
Hey, man, 25? That's a quarter to 100. Older than me now.
All right. Well, we're back with a whole new set of shows. We're going to be lining them up, starting with today. We have, as always, our panel, followed by Arturo Sanchez, and then we're going to have a breakdown of some third strike play because I know you guys have been asking for. But let's get started here with some topics by, first of all, introducing our panel. I, of course, am your host, Efren Salinas. This is Michael Blanca Schiller, who apparently is looking for new co-hosts. What a coincidence. And, of course, Raymond Chun, our weatherman. And joining us live via Skype from Event Hubs, John Velociraptor Guerrero, who promised that he would have a new webcam, but I think this is a downgrade, compadre. And we have our very own Ace King Offsuit, writer for the Daily Dot.
What up, guys?
What's going on, man?
Everything, man, everything.
So let's get into some hot topics. We were off for 2 weeks, and Steve was pissed because he said, man, last week would have been a good day to talk about some of that Genesis stuff. So why don't we go ahead and kick off the show by talking, I was going to say, let's just talk about standardized rule sets and if we need them or not, but let's just jump right into it. So, Steve, if you would, recap for us what happened with Genesis, the Smash Major.
Okay, so this is, for those of you that don't know, the major that is kind of replacing Apex on the calendar, potentially as the biggest event of the year that's Smash only. That got over 1,800 players now for Melee, over 1,100 or around 1,100 for Smash 4. So a huge deal. A couple weeks ago, it came out that a certain number of top players in each bracket would be advanced to the second stage of pools. So like top 128 or 256. It would be 32 players in the Smash 4 bracket, 64 players in the Melee bracket. There was a lot of feedback, mostly negative, about 95% negative, I would say. And eventually the organizers came out to defend this decision a little bit, and then shortly after, they backtracked from keeping that in place for Smash 4. So that is going to be handled like any other tournament. The Melee tournament is still going to have these top 64 players start in the second stage. Of
Mike, kick us off here. What's the problem with floating players at a tournament, if you think it's a problem?
The reason that the majority of people think it's a problem has to do with one of two things, which is either A, everyone should start from the same place, it's an open bracket, leave it an open bracket, kind of the purism viewpoint, and B, if you're all right with floating as like a general idea, the problem becomes selecting 64 or 32 players who deserve the float. Mm-hmm. It's extremely tough. Maybe with the first 8 players or so, you can say these guys, yeah, they'll destroy whoever they play in pools. It makes it a little easier for everybody else, the next level players to get through without a loss doing that. And some people think that's a good idea, and I can understand that. But for the 30th, the 32nd player, the 64th player in Melee, it's really hard to say this guy's better than the 65th one. But the advantage you get is so gigantic skipping that round of pools that you can't deny that's extremely unfair for someone who may have deserved to be in the first place.
John, do you agree with that?
I think it's an unfortunate situation. And is it ever okay to float players? It's something that the FGC really looks down upon. No one likes that. Anytime there's any discussion about floating people around, it's just people are pissed. So ultimately, no, and it's something that our community doesn't take kindly to. Don't like it. But this was a kind of a special situation. Not that any tournament should get special treatment, but these guys had big conflicts, and with the caliber of tournament, or I'm sorry, I shouldn't say caliber, the size of this tournament being like basically a replacement for the new guy instead of Apex, you need to have this thing run. And when you run into scheduling conflicts, that's bad. But hey, the situation is the situation. What are you going to do? Are you going to skip like the first round for 32 players, or are you just going to mix the whole tournament? You know, I think you have to cut your losses in a situation like that.
You know, what I found interesting, and this is just, somewhat of an aside, but I was trying to follow some of the smashers on Twitter, and they were saying, hey, the FGC is blowing you guys up. A lot of people like to say that the FGC and Smash communities are still one and the same, and we're all FGC. But that, to me, definitely was a clear demarcation between the communities that it would be a surprise, that it would come as a shock, and that the Smash guys would say, the FGC guys are blowing you guys up on Twitter. And this was guys like Joey Cuellar saying, never, ever, ever, ever do this. And we reached out to the guy who is now running Apex, which is Bifuteki, and he said it's a slap in the face of players. But it didn't seem like you were getting that reaction from people in the Smash community, at least until, it reached fever pitch, I guess. But I thought that was an interesting little distinction there.
Part of that is just there's like the floodgates have opened for Smash. They ban items, they set their own rules, they do all this stuff. Whereas in fighting games, you play the way the game tells you to play, and everyone's the same in a tournament. It's just a much more standardized thing, and change in the fighting game community that isn't from the developers themselves is something that's much harder to come by.
I cannot confirm anything because we don't have any hard confirmation on it, not because I'm trying to keep it from you, but we've been hearing a lot of rumors about, and here I am dealing in rumors, that there's the potential Nintendo League in the works. Seeding works. We saw it in the Capcom Pro Tour. People were happy with the way that worked out. You have your gatekeeping issues and that, but that's all par for the course. If you're heading towards that, and again, my understanding is that the majors know about that this is coming. Why not wait for that to play out, and then next year you can say, hey, we're going to do the top 32 up here because we have the official seeding points or official ranking, something based off of an official established league. Would that make things more palatable? Mike? Or Steve, sorry?
Yeah, I think there's a huge difference between what Genesis is doing here and what you saw with Capcom Pro Tour. Capcom Pro Tour and all of these other league events, year-long series, that seeding is based on purely on performance. Every single player has the exact same opportunity to go to all of these events. They list them all off at the beginning of the year, say, hey, if you want to get into a top spot at this event, you have to do well at events A, B, and C. And that's the same for everybody. That is not what's happening here. That's why I feel like there's, and I mean, it bothers me more because I feel like one of the biggest tenets in the fighting game community is how well you do, how well you are seen isn't determined by, anything else other than what you do with a controller in your hand. If you think you're good enough, you have a chance to prove it every single day. And, there's no separation between the top players and the other ones aside from your ability to play.
So I arrived at that as well. I was like, well, does that mean that a PPMD's dollar is worth more than mine if we're both paying the same entry fee? And I was like, that's garbage. That's, an outrage. But then, if you're being realistic, yes, his is more valuable. PPMD's is more valuable because you want guys like that at your tournament. You want to give them preferential treatment. At what point do you draw the line, though? As a tournament organizer, as a fan, okay, so I'll put it to you this way. We're going to have a tournament in Texas. Well, who's going to be there? You know what I mean? It's more valuable to have a Justin Wong, a Knuckle Dew, or guys like this show up to Dallas tournament. Therefore, am I just completely wrong here? That it is more valuable?
No, there's a lot of sense behind it. And if, say, we were to use tournament rankings instead of, a panel of people to judge it, and it's a little more fair in most people's eyes, there's definitely advantages to it. It spreads out the bracket. So the top 32 players end up in separate secondary pools after the initial pool. So it's not like, oh, you got an easy bracket to finals because, of course, the top 32 players are already separated. So that's not going to happen. There's clear advantages for the viewers in that sense. The pool stage is shorter, so you get to see more good matches most of the time. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of nice things about it. So the question is whether or not you're doing it for the top players in the community, and the top players and the viewers, which would be the potential float, or for the community as a whole, which would be, not floating, because generally people seem to be against it. And I think that, personally, I don't think we're ready to be floating players yet. I don't think we have a solid way to do it. I don't think we know that there are benefits big enough to make it necessary, but I do see where people are going with it.
How would you feel if fall tournaments went that way? I mean, the Capcom Pro Tour is right around the corner.
If this whole thing is a little wishy-washy because what you're talking about, it's kind of bringing in new or different rules to the situation, which would be fine if when you wrote out your tournament and you made all the small print, you said, this is how it's going to go. Top players are going to be judged. I mean, I'm the TO, I get to say, top players are going to be judged by this rubric. And if you qualify as a top player, you get into, you get to bypass the first round or whatever. If that was the case, well, then you'd have more of an argument for doing something like this. But it's seemingly done on the fly because someone didn't plan ahead, which totally is a different story, But if Capcom comes out and like, hey, we're doing the Pro Tour this year, and it's a little bit different, and here's how it is, well, then everyone can say, all right, well, it's your tournament.
Exactly.
And we'll play by those rules. But this is not an example of that. This is kind of a last minute, oh crap, we didn't do our scheduling right, and now we need to make this happen. So I don't know if it's fair to compare.
You're right, and I agree that it's BS to come up with that rule after the fact. Hey, I've already registered, man. I'm already ready to go, and now you're telling me this? But I lost my train of thought on that one. Good point, John.
I mean, there's it's
Thanks,
funny,
man.
yeah. And there's definitely, and even though I said that the small guy might like to see the float so they can see more of these good matches, there's definitely people who like playing against Daigo or like playing versus Mango in the first round.
That's the point to do it,
of
right?
a tournament. It's cool. And these guys, you can say it's a waste of time for them to play their first round pool because they're going to come out in winners anyway. But it's not a waste of time for all the people that play them necessarily. The only real losers in that standpoint are the guys who got seeded into a pool where they're going to lose to someone that was going to win the tournament in the first place. So if you get seeded into the Mango pool or get seeded into the Daigo pool, but you're actually like a top 30 player and you just got unlucky with which pool you got seeded into, the floating might help you out. But those situations are few and far between most of the time. And so generally, it doesn't change the results much, and it seems to upset a lot of people.
And, we were talking to one of our reporters here, you might know him, Jacob Wolf, and he was saying that, part of the reason people go is, of course, to play with these guys, and you're losing that.
Yeah.
All right, guys, the overarching theme here for this first section of the show was going to be standardized rule sets. Do we need to start implementing it? Do people want that? How do you get everybody on the same page? To add to that, our friends over at Korea Gaming keep putting out these awesome videos. In this case, it was about the side-by-side. We've talked about that on the show several times, and we've asked people about it, and we've had differing opinions. But they put up this cool video about it. This guy's just so thorough. I love his videos. Side-by-side or head-to-head. Do you float players? Do you not? We don't need to spend too much time talking about side-by-side or head-to-head, but the idea being, are we arriving at a point where we need to standardize this? And is the fear about that we're getting esports?
I mean, to me,
that shouldn't be something we're afraid of.
Come again, John?
I don't think we should be afraid of. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I don't think we should be afraid of are we esports. I think that it's at this point, come on, it's inevitable and it's good. Look what it's doing for us. But that's another conversation for another day. I get that. As far as what we're talking about, standardized rules, yes, that's just the nature of a more professional atmosphere. And if we can get that, albeit it's not going to be the same set of rules for every game, because a game like Smash Bros. With its pools is going to be different than a game like Street Fighter with its traditional double elimination bracket. But yeah, of course, let's do that. Of course, let's set that up. Then you're recognized it's not just like a couple of guys that are throwing a tournament together. It's like, oh, those are those guys that have the prestige or whatever to put together like this league of tournaments. It looks a lot fancier to the outside world. I think it's more respectable overall.
Guys, I'm about to change the subject on you guys. 2016 has begun. I don't know if you guys are aware. There's a ton of new fighting games coming out this year. Let's go down the list. What are you excited about? Mike.
Well, as far as new fighting games that I can think of,
You want me to give you the list? Here
let's
we
see
go.
the list because I have my ideas.
Street Fighter V, Pokken Tournament, and thanks to Ray, our producer, for compiling this list. Guilty Gear Zard Revelator. Someone told me this guy's going to like that one. Dissidia Final Fantasy. I was trying to find videos of this and I couldn't. Blaze Blue Central Fiction. King of Fighters 14, Tekken 7, and if you saw that one video that the Capcom Fighters channel put out, where they were doing their closing thoughts, and at one point, I think it was you guys on Event Hubs, John, that pointed it out, that there's that CVS 2 announcer that interrupts the video halfway through. So could that be a potential new CVS game coming out? We don't know. Let's stick to the ones that have been announced. So that's Street Fighter V, Pokken Tournament, Guilty Gear, Revelator, Dissidia Final Fantasy, Blaze Blue, Central Fiction, King of Fighters 14, and Tekken 7. Miguel.
All right, so Pokken and Dissidia are both arcade, different type of fighting game. You know,
They're similar, though. Those two games are similar to each other.
They're
from the little I
somewhat
saw.
similar in the sense that you're behind the character and you're fighting from this like semi-second person perspective. From my moles in Japan, neither game is apparently extremely popular in Japan itself right now. Pokken cabinets are pretty empty. Dissidia cabinets are not as big. Tekken is more popular than anything as it has been. Well, of course, other than like Gundam and stuff like that, but like more fighting games, Tekken's big. And these games just haven't exactly taken off the ground. I think Pokken could jump out with a console release and be really cool. It's obviously a huge IP. Pokemon's bigger than Street Fighter or Tekken will ever be. But the fact of the matter is the game has been called shallow, and it's not that popular right now, so I don't see it blowing up. Tekken 7 has gotten a lot more ground than I think Tekken Tag 2 did.
Okay.
And the replay system, the tournaments they've been showing, a lot of people, there's the fact that they've lowered the character amounts and supposedly made it easier has made me hear a lot of people say they want to get into Tekken, so that's exciting. Both anime games excite me. We don't know when we'll get them in the United States. Probably. We know that we'll get Guilty Gear within a couple months. Blaze Blue does not have a release date yet. King of Fighters 14, we've seen footage of, don't know that much of yet. Street Fighter 5's the big Kone here.
Yeah.
As far as what I'm excited for, I mean, I'd love to say all of it, but in America, to me, there's no question that Street Fighter V is going to take everything for at least a little bit. People will play these other games, and they'll still have the communities they once had, but nothing's going to grow exponentially except for Street Fighter, I don't think. So for me, of course, that's what I'm going to be the most excited for because it's got the most competition.
Watch this fabled Nintendo League pick up Pokken Tournament and...
That would be tight. I mean, they've gotten a lot of flack for a long time for not taking Pokemon battling, like the GBA games seriously enough because they have these big, like emulated scenes online, but they never did much with it themselves. Now they have the tournaments, but they have weird rules, stuff like that. So hopefully Nintendo will try something with Smash and Pokken in their own games, but who knows?
The game comes packaged with the official fight pad, and it's made by Hori. I mean, I don't know if that helps, give it a nudge in the direction of fighting game, but I think that's interesting. Or as some people have stated, that makes it dead on arrival. Steve, what are you looking forward to, man?
Well, obviously, personally, Street Fighter V is the game I'm probably going to spend the most time with. But what I'm most interested in seeing is Killer Instinct and how well that does.
So that's not technically a new game, but Season 3 is coming out and new characters and all that.
And release on Windows 10, not Steam, Windows 10. Let's see. I'm interested in seeing if that having it on PC in some form leads to sort of a renaissance in that game. You see what they're doing with the KI World Cup and how Microsoft has come along and jumped on board with that. Let's see if that pours some gasoline on that fire.
John, do you have that gasoline? John, you're muted, bro. Unmute yourself. I hear you laughing.
You guys are going to give me so much crap now because I pulled a Steve.
Oh, yeah, dude. Come on, man. You guys got to learn to unmute. For crying out loud. What game are you interested for 2016, John?
Yeah. My as a Street Fighter player, of course, 5, and like you guys already said, that's gonna be. I mean, everybody, all over the place. Like there's niche communities for Smash, well, for Mortal Kombat, and for the anime fighters. But I think you're gonna get a sampling from everyone for Street Fighter because it's the game that everyone knows. Everyone, oh yeah, I played Street Fighter back in the day when 2 was out, and they'll all get in it a little bit. So it's gonna be huge. And I'm hoping for the other games that they come out a few months at least after Street Fighter V because I'm worried kind of develops and they won't have as much of a chance to shine. But yeah, as far as the game I'm excited for, it's got to be Street Fighter. That's going to be the one I'm going to play the most. But I will say I am I am more excited than I ever have been for a Tekken release for Tekken 7, probably because the Kuma's in there now. But the way that they're beginning to do crossovers and such is exciting to me, and I'm looking forward for what that's inspiring. This kind of like putting together different games and having people jump, back and forth through the games, and what that might mean for the FGC in the future and such. But to answer your question, yeah, Street Fighter
5. Ray, what do you got for us, buddy?
I'll tell you right now, I'm most excited for Street Fighter in Tekken 7. I can't wait to play it. Makuma looks cool. Tekken 7's actually like a huge game that's going to take off, and I think it's going to get a lot more ground in the United States than we've previously seen. And, I mean, Street Fighter Cross Tekken as well. That game, I love it so much. I can't find any footage of it. If you guys have any footage, just please send it my way. I love that game way too much. But Street Fighter 5 is going to take off. I'm a huge online warrior. With this new netcode, I know a lot of people are going to be playing online, and that could definitely set the ground for a promising future in Street Fighter 5. And, of course, Pokken. I mean, you have hopes. You have hopes. That's all I can say about that.
The new netcode, obviously, the big deal is the rollback, which for minor lag situations, I think rollback is indisputably better. When there's a very small amount of lag, the rollback is typically hard to notice. It's when the lag gets a little heavier that rollback sometimes actually worse because you see things hit that don't, and the disconnection between the two games hurts you. But I think generally the Street Fighter V netcode will end up better than the Street Fighter 4 netcode and start the online tournament trend that we've been talking about.
Not that I think anybody cares, but I as well am looking forward to Street Fighter V. That is the game I'm waiting on. I'm very excited about it. Guys, there's a ton of tournaments coming up, and we're going to rattle some of them off. This is tournaments coming up this weekend. Ray has compiled the list, and he's going to go down them right now. Take it away, Ray.
All right, so CEO, Big Daddy of Fighting Games, is having a one-day event called Winterfest this January 9th. Go there. They're playing it at the mall, I believe. They're going to be playing Street Fighter 4, Mortal Kombat, Marvel, Killer Instinct, I believe. Looks like a fun event. CEO is built up on these kind of events, so be sure to go out.
That's the thing. I reached out to Bailey because I was trying to figure out if there was going to be Smash at CEO or this tournament, and we were trying to square that away. And at CEO, there will be Smash. At Winterfest, there will not. Is that right? Yeah, that's correct. Steve, double check me. Is that right?
It's not going to be at this weekend's event, but it will be a part of the main line.
But, I was talking to Bailey, and he, among many other things, talking about the importance of these one-day events. They started with one-day events. They used to do monthly events, and they grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. So it's cool, at least in my eyes, that if you've reached a certain level of success, you can still take it back to your roots. And it seems like they're very excited to be going back to these one-day events because that's a little bit of nostalgia there. His exact words, without these one-day events, CEO would not be what it is today, and I'm excited to put them on again. He said a bunch of other cool stuff, as well as regards, I asked him, are you going to do your own Smash tournament? Are you going to take that dive? He's doing a Street Fighter V tournament. He's doing, of course, CEO, which is, it rivals EVO. He said that it's not out of the question, but the current tournament organizers that are doing Smash tournaments are doing just fine without him. And he'll support the community at CEO when they show up. All right, next tournament. This one I'm actually pretty excited about.
All right, before we get to that one, from sea to shining sea, on the other side, we got a brand new gaming lounge in California called KO Fighting Game Lounge. And they're going to have Mortal Kombat, Guilty Gear, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and Ultra Street Fighter 4. They're giving out small pop bonuses. There's the grand opening. It's being co-hosted by Level Up Live, so I'm pretty sure there's a whole bunch of people from SoCal that are going to go up and play there. So make sure you guys check that out. And on the other side of the world, what I'm excited for, and I did not know about until recently, is Cooperation Cup Volume 14. Now, Cooperation Cup is a 5v5 Japanese tournament for Street Fighter Third Strike. Hard to believe for many of us, but Third Strike is, a game that's highly popular in Japan still. A lot of people play it. The strong people still in it. Last year's winners, I'll go ahead and read them off to you real quick, was Team Master Course featuring Arashi, Kyabetsu, Rao, Nito, and Rikimaru. And then second place team was MOV, Kashi, Morikawa, Moto, and Nameru. So be sure to check that out. That will be January 9th to 10th in Japanese time. So make sure you check out the time differences if you want to catch that on the stream.
Third Strike tournaments, 5v5.
You know, it's even if you're not a fan of Third Strike, it's cool to watch this tournament because it's a 5v5 and you have to all play different characters.
Oh,
Third
really?
Strike is a game where the top 3 is considered very separate from the rest of the tier list. Your Ken, Yin, Chun. And even after that, Makoto and Urian and Yang and Dudley to an extent are considered better than the rest of the cast as well. So you see a lot of characters in these grand finals and these later in the bracket matches than you would ever see making impacts, doing well in their niche good matchups and doing cool setups that you'd never see in a singles tournament because you're just going to see Ken, Chun, Yoon most of the time. So it's a lot of fun to watch. There's definitely some American players there going there.
Tell
Yuki
us more.
Spencer from Dallas is generally considered the best Third Strike player in America. Anyone in the scene will pretty much tell you that without fail. He will be there, and he's teaming with an extremely strong Japanese team. He's been drafted to their ranks.
Man.
And then there's a few other players. Arcade UFO in Austin has a team going. Not as strong, but definitely going to make a good showing. So it'll be a lot of fun to watch. And as I said, even if you don't watch Third Strike, even if you don't play Third Strike, it's not going to be the typical, Ken versus Chun Perry Fest that you always see. It's going to be, 12 versus Chun Perry Fest.
Tell me a little bit more about, I think it's awesome that a team from Arcade UFO is going. How do you just sign up? It's like just any other tournament, open bracket, but just 5v5 teams?
I can't tell you exactly how it goes down. I know they make some concessions for foreign teams because it's exciting when they enter. I don't have the info on exactly.
Okay.
I think it's open to an extent, basically. And I think as I said, I think they make concessions for foreign teams.
Cool. I put it up in the chat because it looks like Alex Vai is in here. I asked him what happened with the esports arena. As we all know, he had been doing Wednesday night fights there. He says that's definitely still going. They're going to continue to do Wednesday night fights there, but the KO Gaming Lounge, they're helping launch. So as far as I can tell, Alex Vai is doing his thing. Like he's putting his money where his mouth is and helping out the community. Before we let you guys go, any final thoughts on the things that we have discussed today? John, unmute yourself first, please.
Put me on the spot. I did, man. In general, I'm excited for 2016.
Yeah.
With all of these new games, and including the games like Mortal Kombat and stuff and Killer Instinct that have been around a little while, but are releasing new content. It's going to be a bigger year than we've ever seen for fighting games. It's just going to go up from here. And this is going to be the first year with Street Fighter V, which we know that the Capcom Pro Tour was created for. I am so excited to see where the community goes, and I hope and I pray that we do it with some grace, that everything goes smoothly. But yeah, I'm just looking up from here. It's great.
I'm excited, man. I feel your enthusiasm. Steve, what you got, buddy?
Two things. One, anyone who's worried about the future of Street Fighter 4 when Street Fighter 5 comes out, look at what they're doing with Cooperation Cup. That event is still going strong. As long as you want to play, there's going to be a seat. And two, for everyone who's looking for more events, shout outs to Malice, who's in the chat. He runs the Twitter at FGC Calendar. He does an amazing job putting out lists of every event for pretty much every game you want to watch. So check him out, follow him.
Hey, Malice, put your Twitter handle in there. I want to see it.
Could make a good Daily Dot article. Twitter's to follow in the FGC.
It begins and ends with Ace King Offsuit and Malice, isn't it? Also, yeah.
It's a couple more than that. I'm like...
Well, Ray, any final thoughts? 2016, what are you looking forward to, man?
Man, I just want to play Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
I didn't get to play any of the beta. I'm sad. I heard it was fun. I might get to play a little bit pretty soon, hint, hint, but hey, Street Fighter 5, net play, I'm going to rack up all the Zenny, and if I can distribute it, maybe we'll have another Diablo kind of thing going on, but looks like a good year.
This guy's learning how to crack the game already.
Selling alternate Ryu beards.
Is there going to be more than
market.
one? What you got, man? 2016, you looking forward to it?
Oh, yeah. As I said, I think everyone right now is on their, I'm playing Street Fighter 4 to win locals hiatus. No one's really too excited for anything until that game comes out. So the people, everyone who played the beta seemed to enjoy it. Well, not okay. That is unfair to say. A lot of people who played the beta seem to enjoy it.
People are going through withdrawals on that, man. Like, I wish it was back.
Yes, Combo Fiend has said that they're going to buff up characters, which has made people excited. We haven't gotten to play Fang yet. Who knows who else might be revealed? We probably do know. But
They've been revealed. I'm wondering if it's going to be like day one. Hey, you can
there's
already
still
get
a
this
lot
one
of is
DLC.
Akuma going to be in the game talk. That
He's
would
got
be
to.
the craziest like
Why wouldn't you put him in there?
shot over our heads we've ever seen. Who knows? I doubt
Yeah.
it. But yeah, I mean, Street Fighter V will be a great start to 2016 for the fighting community. Hopefully, what will happen is that while everyone will gravitate to Street Fighter V immediately, it'll make the fighting game community as a whole larger, and people will trickle into other events. Reaganomics. So
Exactly. Reaganomics. And on that note, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Steve and John, we'll see you next week.
Here.
Adios.
All right. Now, joining us in a few brief moments will be young Arturo Sanchez. He put out a tweet that said, Street Fighter 4 isn't over until New York says it's over. And that alone inspired me to go and get this guy for the show. He's been on the show before. He's
Yes,
one of
yes.
our very few two-peats, or, repeats would also work in that sense. And we're excited to talk to him about that and a couple other things. Arturo, are you with us?
Can you guys hear me?
Hey, Art, how's it going, man?
Oh, hey, I'm doing just fine. Like my overhead light literally just went out like 2 minutes before I went.
Are you trying to recreate that
like the Sith Lord
CEO
or something like
scene
that,
where where Dominion showed up and he was already in the ring? Is that what's going on here? You're just such a fan.
Yeah, like I'm gonna come out of the shadows. That was. I remember that. I had watched that clip the other week, and like Dominion stare when they turn on the lights.
It's what sells it for sure.
That's what's up. Yeah. Are you?
Art, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yep, thanks.
Speaking of Dominion, again, you put out this. I saw that tweet of "It's not over until we say it is." First of all, I'm going to ask you to defend that statement because that's a ballsy statement. Two, Dominion is one of the guys on there, and there's a couple other notable names that are on that poster. But first, just start us off. Kings of New York. For anybody who doesn't know, what is it?
All right, so the King of New York is the King of New York. For those of you that don't know, or for some of you guys who tuned in last year, because a lot of people actually know. So the King of
Sure.
New York is it's a year-long tournament series where Team Pie, like our bi-weekly, monthly Team Pie events that we host in Astoria. We host them like every couple of months or so. The points from those get tallied up towards the King of New York. Now there is 10 players. Yep, there is 10 players already in the round robin. So we're going to decide a couple of them by last chance qualifier. So let me tell you who's confirmed already. So just based off points over a year of tournaments, Pie's Zeus, of course. Well, actually, he's not Pie. He's just Zeus now.
Oh, is that right?
Pie. Yeah. Smug, Sanford Kelly, RLBS, myself, Dominion. He already won last year. They want K-Brad in there as well, just to hype it up. And they're going to be 3 last chance qualifiers the day of the tournaments.
What do you mean they want K-Brad in there just to hype it up?
Because, who doesn't want K-Brad? I definitely do. Like, win or lose, the guy's entertaining. And I like seeing him play. He's had some really good back and forth with Smug. Like, he beat Smug at ECT only for Smug to beat him at the $1,000 local New York City tournament. Vortex to Victory in August, the week after. So it's definitely a good rivalry there. It's basically something that we're doing to hype up our local scene and, see who the best player in New York is. And the winner of the tournament gets $1,000.
What I find cool about this whole thing is that you're saying, our local scene. Well, your local scene in New York is one of the most storied, it's got one of the most stacked rosters of players there. In your opinion, in your estimation, what does Street Fighter mean for New York?
It definitely means a lot. A lot of the players on here, Sanford and a couple of the other older guys, they're really proponents. They really love playing long sets. So this tournament, we're actually doing Swiss style. So that means nobody actually gets eliminated. So in other words, everybody's going to get to play everybody. And we tally up the scores, and there'll be a tiebreaker. So I really think it means a lot. And I think that's why people in our area are really excited for this, because Street Fighter 5 is right around the horizon. And, while I do think that, Street Fighter 4 is done, the Capcom Pro Tour is over and stuff, and we're waiting for next year, this is something to fill the time before Street Fighter 5 comes out. 15 days later, the game will be out. Mm-hmm. So, I think it's a pretty good way to send off old Street Fighter 4, at least for our area. Everybody wants to do a little something. before the game dies.
You mentioned K-Brad, but what matches are you looking forward to? Who do you want to see? I mean, because you've watched these matches probably countless times, but still, how does this stay fun for you? What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward. I think like the best possible outcome, because I'm actually streaming the tournament, is if I win the tournament. The last King of New York, like I streamed it and I got bopped. I mean, like those players on the list are ridiculous. Like just looking at this list myself, there's at least 3 out of the 7 players that I do not feel confident against. Like they'll just totally just beat me 3 to 5 straight in a row.
Yeah.
So like it's definitely pretty tough. Like I'm really looking forward to some of the matches. Like I think I want a new winner this time. You know, Dominion won last year, and like he's kind of amazing. But I think it would be nice if like the underdog took it. Like what if RLBS won? Because nobody's expecting RLBS to win. I think it would be amazing if he actually came out and won that day as well.
So, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go.
Okay, well, so this is obviously a big deal for New York, a big deal for the scene. When Big 2 was going on, people definitely had their comments on every week ending with Sanford versus Dominion or something like that. How do you, within a local community where people have seen these matches, time and time again, make people excited to watch it in this long set format?
Oh, probably because it's the final. Going to be like the final endpoint for a lot of these players. Like I feel like when you watch Big 2 or like a Next Level Battle Circuit or any of the Team Spooky weeklies, it's like watching like a long sitcom, like multiple seasons, right? So like Street Fighter 4 is ending. So like how are you not gonna watch the conclusion? How are you gonna not? Because just think about it. At the beginning of it, it was myself, Sanford, Dominion going back and forth, and then slowly but surely the new guard started creeping up. And, like, you have guys like Smug, Zeus to mix it up, RLBS, Master Mike. And, like, these players have really evolved, man. Like, a lot of these people, when they first started coming to these events, they weren't that good. But then, look at them now, 7 years later. They're very competent players. I mean, like, when we started doing this, K-Brad wasn't even thinking about sponsorship. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Back in the vanilla days, I was just playing him online as FNEX K-Brad. I had no idea that, like, like years later, that he would be sponsored and he's traveling all around the world. So I just think it's a great conclusion. It's like the whole thing.
Art, 2 hypotheticals. How would you feel if Smug won? How would you feel if Sanford won?
I don't think Smug will win because he has a No, only because think about it. So towards the end of Street Fighter 4, Smug had his period where he was just dominating New York. He was just killing Sanford every week, free. Right? Like, you would just watch Battle Circuit and be like, oh, like, Smug's going to win. But now Shine is his demon. Shine is actually his demon. And, like, he doesn't go to all, like, the major events, but, like, every time he plays Smug, it's always a wash. So, like, when you have guys that can beat him that don't always enter tournaments, like Shine, and I think Zeus gives him a good match, too. Like, if Smug wins because he has some demons in that bracket, then he's ridiculous. Like, if you can beat Shine and Zeus in a long set, then, like, kudos to him. Like, I think it'll be great, too. If Sanford wins, that would also be great because, he always calls himself the king.
Yeah, and it'll be official. He can wear the crown and everything. I saw that little plastic crown you put on Dai. You're saying?
Yep. Oh, yeah. So, like, if Sanford wins, I think that'll be amazing, too, because he always talks about how he's the king. So it will be a great way to end Ultra Street Fighter 4 going into Street Fighter 5. Like, we can finally close the chapter on it. I don't think it's going to die or anything. It's obviously going to be at some tournaments, but, everybody's going to be focusing on 5. So, like, I think before the new game comes, it's a great way to, just send it off, say goodbye.
Hey, Art, as I mentioned earlier, before you came on, it's the second time that you come on our show. The first time, I think I did you a disservice by not having fully researched and known. I had assumed that Spooky was the guy that kind of started the streaming game up in your neck of the woods, but in reality, it was you.
No, it wasn't me. No.
Okay.
It's not. I can clear that all for you.
Okay. Let's hear it. Clear it for me. Well, what's the true story? How did it start? Who was it?
You mean who was the first streamer in the Northeast area? Probably like the first guys that really started streaming were the Frame Advantage guys, and I had known about them through Damdai, Sebri, like of FrameAdvantage.com. He was the first guy I started streaming with Hopodges and stuff, and he would actually pay me to do videos for him. And like obviously he'd be doing a lot of tournaments. He did the early East Coast Throwdowns, and he was the guy that I started streaming early on. then afterwards, other guys came out to the scene like Spooky and myself, etc. So no, I didn't start it. I would gladly take credit for it if I did, but no, I wasn't the first guy to stream.
Well, the real reason I wanted to bring up, take us back to that moment is because we're about to get esports up in here.
Mm-hmm.
You worked for MLG once or twice, right? Casting, is that correct?
Yeah, multiple times. Yeah.
So the big news.
Well, not casting. I was a director, so I was basically producing the stream.
Right, and you were in there doing MLG productions.
Yeah.
Presumably all of them were FGC?
Yeah.
I think I remember maybe a Mortal Kombat one here or there, something like that, right?
Yeah, there was a Mortal Kombat one. There was a King of Fighters. There was a Soul Calibur.
Okay, the news this week, or over the weekend, was that MLG got bought out by Activision Blizzard for this new huge monster that they're putting together with a former head of ESPN, one of the co-founders of MLG, went to Activision Blizzard, and they're starting what they've put they haven't made any bones about it. It's a new TV show, or a new channel. It's going to be the ESPN of esports. One, how do you feel when you see something like that? Because here you are, the struggle is real, right? Like the streamers are out there busting their ass. We have guys like Panda, guys like Vaya that are out there hitting the pavement. And then you get this huge corporate type coming in. Do you feel disheartened by that? Do you feel like you can compete? Do you think that they're going the wrong way? What are your general thoughts on that, especially considering you've worked with MLG?
Oh, well, I think with the MLG buyout, I think that consolidation is eventually going to happen in the esports space. A lot of these companies, they were running off venture capital for years. So it's not surprising to me that they get bought out, but I don't really think. Wait, so the second part of the question was, you think it's competition?
Well, I mean, I wonder if you're shit, these guys are going to have, ESPN level studios and equipment and infrastructure and production values. And the majority of the streamers that I know, have to bust ass to buy their cameras and lights and gear and try to set things up and make them look pretty. And to their credit, you and other guys like Panda have definitely been leveling up that game. And then here comes somebody and just sweeps in and just no, we got this. We're going to do it. It's going to be on TV. It's going to be great. And you guys will be a footnote.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, shouts to Panda, by the way. I'm going to be working with him at KIT again this year, which is before the King of New York, by the way.
We'll be there as well, by the way. Mike and I will
You'll
be there.
Yeah, I'll see you there, buddy.
All right.
See you there. Second of all, no, because you can't really compete with the company, dude. At that point, I would be just hire me. You know what I'm saying? Instead of thinking it as competition.
I hear you.
And even if it's competition, you obviously can't compete with that level of production. But Street Fighter is still a local scene. So there's still going to be local action going on. It's not every tournament is going to be esports. There's still going to be plenty of grassroots tournaments. So no, I don't really see it as competition just yet, because the people that run the scene and the people that do events are still important. So I expect some integration to happen. Not just me, but everybody else. I think I can see more people getting hired by esports for Street Fighter 5.
So with people streaming local events, obviously a lot of the reason you're streaming this isn't necessarily, make it huge and make money off it. It's to showcase your local players' other scenes and to let your own local players who didn't make the event see the event that's going on at the arcade or at someone's house, whatever. Mm-hmm. Do you think these will still have their place? And if so, what's going to have people continue to run it? Is it the love of the game? Do you think they can somehow make money out of it? What's going to keep these small streams running?
I think there's no guarantee of the actual stream running itself. I'm talking about the local scene first and foremost before the stream. So I think in the case of local scenes, they'll still be important because people will still need places to play. The online's going to be pretty good. The online's actually going to be amazing. So there's going to be a lot more online tournaments. So I don't just think that esports going to come in and take over. I can see a lot of other streamers, because the netcode in this game is good, actually have online tournaments be viable and stream stuff. But no, I still think in the case of offline, there's still gonna be people that want to come to local scenes and play. There's people that find value in having an offline community, because it's not only in the game itself. Some of these people are friends with each other in real life, so to hang out, etc. So, but that being said, there will be a lot of esports events, but yeah, scheduling is gonna be a bitch.
Hey, I'm going to let you go on this last topic. I'm going to change it here because we're running a little bit low on time, and I want to get your thoughts on Dawson, Street Fighter 5.
Oh, yeah, sure.
What do you think?
He's He's definitely different. He's going to be very rush down. He's very rush down friendly. It's like at first I wasn't feeling it, but the way they want him to be played, they want him to be totally in the air. So if you're going to challenge somebody on the ground, his dead zones in this game are very different from the dead zones in Street Fighter 4. Like, giving you an example. So in Street Fighter 4, dive kick characters owned him because there was this dead space where, like, people could just jump and they could choose whether to normal jump at you or not, or do a delayed dive kick or an early dive kick to screw up your anti-air. So you'd have to commit to something to anti-air, and the guess wasn't always in your favor, so you kind of got blown up. Now in Street Fighter 5, Dawson covers that space, but then he's bad like on the ground from full screen. So what that means is they want to take to the air a lot more. They want him to use his V skill to float around. They want you to use his air flame, because now you can do a Joker flame in the air. They want you to use that because that's actually positive on block, and it'll stuff a lot of uppercut attempts or anti-airs and things like that. And they want you to use the V skill as well to be able to get around and make people whiff on their uppercut or anti-air setups. They want you to do slide into a V trigger, since he's weird up close, because some of his buttons are pretty good up close. And his slide, although it's not cancelable into flame anymore, you can cancel it into a V trigger. So they want you to do offensive stuff all the time. But some of it is safe, and some of it is actually plus. So it's definitely different.
Did you need 3 slides?
Do I need? Yes.
You do? You wanted those 3 different slides?
Yeah. Well, originally what I wanted, I was worried about his ground control, because now he doesn't have far long range normals. So that's definitely different from any Street Fighter before, because before he always had, the far long range normal that you couldn't react to, and then you could get hit with the sniper, kind of like in a 50-50 situation. But now he doesn't really have that. So now you kind of need to change like your mid range approach. It's definitely you definitely have to relearn some stuff, but I definitely think he's not going to be as bad as Street Fighter 4 by any means. But I think he's fun to play. I don't know how good he is.
Donka says that Vega is top tier.
I think most.
Yeah, I think there will be some characters that are pretty dominant. That seem pretty dominant early on, but I feel like with the way the V trigger system works and how everybody is a little bit unique, even though it's simple, I think like the subtle spacing is really going to start to show, and it's going to differentiate the good players from the great players, because everybody's going to have the same combos. So I think Vega is going to be top tier early. I think Bison's going to be top tier early, especially if they don't change the game too much. But I think over time, people will be able to find out some dirty stuff, man. Like those crush counters, they require spacing, pretty specific spacing. You never know, man. And now, like, there's view reversals and stuff to get people off of you. Like, I definitely don't think people have figured out this game yet.
Oh, definitely not.
People act like they do. They talk like they do.
It's cool to talk like you do. Speaking of which, Donka's telling me about his badass tech he figured out with Vega when he had the beta, and you're going to bring in some of that footage, right? Next week?
I was hoping to bring in some footage at some point, yes.
Tech. Are people going to hide it? Okay, I have to reveal. I did an interview earlier today with Luffy. It's going to be up on YouTube, and he said the very same thing. People are going to be in a rush to get good but save stuff, because right at final round, it's going to kick off the next Pro Tour. Are you looking forward to the Pro Tour? I mean, that's when you're going to start to see some stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to the Pro Tour. And now that Capcom is saying that like they're not going to patch the game, I mean, they're not going to patch it unless it's like broken or there's any game-breaking bugs or glitches, stuff like that. I don't think people have to hide their tech. If they're not going to change the meta, I don't think you really have anything to hide. I feel like this game is so simple, you're not going to be able to hide. But I'm really excited for the Capcom Pro Tour, because more money, and with this game, I know for a fact, even the weaker players feel like they have a chance. So that's good. That's good. That means more players. Like, I think it's going to be exciting. Everybody feels like they have a shot. Don't you get that feeling? I feel like
everyone thinks they're godlike right now. Oh man, especially beating up people in the beta.
Yeah, because things do easy damage. Like you always feel like you're in the game, and like now like there's no hard knockdown, so like you can quick rise and you can get right back in there. So like I really think that people are excited. And the most amazing thing is the netcode is actually sick. The netcode is ridiculous. This is like the first mainstream game that finally they got the netcode right. I was
Now,
playing on
that's based on everybody playing the beta. Not everybody pre-ordered the game.
Okay, okay. Here's the thing. Like, even though, yeah, like it might mess up when the game comes out or whatever, but it's still based off rollback. All the other games were based off input delay. So what ended up happening is you play it like before the game came out, right? Like a couple of days early, and nobody would be on the servers. And then once the game came out, there'd be massive input delay. But it was an input delay based game for online, so it wouldn't be good anyway. Like this is the first mainline game with rollback. Other games have had rollback, but they haven't been Street Fighter. It had it in Super Turbo on the emulators. They didn't really have it like for a mainline Street Fighter game. This is really exciting. Like I think this is a game changer.
So, Art, we're going to let you go. Thank you for coming and talk to us about King of New York. Is there anything else coming up in 2016 for you that you'd like to give a shout-out to or a plug?
Oh, yeah. Shout-out to Kumite in Tennessee, January 15th to the 17th. I will be there. I'm not sure if I'm going to this or not, but a shout-out to Frosty Fausting, January 23rd to the 22nd to the 23rd. I might be there. I might not be. King of New York. Thank you guys for having me on. Daily Dot Monsters, thank you guys for watching. It was fun.
All right, man. Well, hopefully we'll have you back on in the future when you got something else to talk about.
Of course.
All right.
Right around the corner.
All right, man. Thanks, dude.
Thanks. Laters.
What do you think, man? Tournaments still happening. No, nothing's going to stop those tournaments, regardless of like these big MLG players or rather Activision Blizzard doing their esports league. What does that do for me, right? If I want to play in a local.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I know I brought this up like several other games on the show, but Hearthstone this year has separate tournaments. You can apply to have your tournament count towards the point system they have for the qualifiers for the end of year giant event. So while we kind of have that on a small level right now where, you know, some of these grassroots tournaments have become the Capcom Pro Tour events, who knows if we'll see, you know, Activision, Blizzard or whatever come in and say, apply your tournament to be 1 point towards the Capcom, towards the Activision Pro Tour, the MLG Pro Tour, whatever.
Very interesting.
So there's definitely places for these things to have. As Art said, people are trying to get hired by these companies themselves, and that's where Evo has gotten all their streamers, is from the community. So yeah, I mean, these giants aren't going to come in and stomp with their own people. They're going to recruit people from the ranks that are already here because they already know what they're doing.
Not to mention Activision Blizzard. We're talking all the Blizzard titles, the StarCrafts, and now the Call of Duties and things of that nature. So, I mean, they I think they have their hands full. And FGC is nowhere near on their radar, I don't think. All right, gentlemen and ladies. We are going to go over to the weather desk for an analysis on what everybody's been asking for, Third Strike. Ray, first, why don't you tell us what we're going to see here?
All right, so you're going to watch the last match of last year's Cooperation Cup, volume number 13, between, let me get this name right, Kyabetsu versus MOV, which Mike corrected me earlier is not Mauve. So Chun-Li versus Ken, everyone knows the matchup, or do they?
You ready?
Famous, fun, and let's get to it. All right, so I'm not too much of a Third Strike player, but people in Colleen taught me one thing. It's that when you play this game, conditioning is very important because the parry system, let me rephrase that. If they know what you're going to do, they're going to parry it, and you're going to get blown up. So, Kyabetsu does a really interesting thing with Ken. You'll see him do the target combo and do nothing after it, but then the next few times he mixes it up, each time, one landing a fireball into super, and the other time going for the chip damage. And it's things like this where, you know, Chun-Li, if she could parry everything, wouldn't take any damage. But in this instance, this leads to the downfall and gets the W for his team.
What you saw there was, and as you said, the whole game at a high level ends up being about baiting parrying. You saw him do a jump in heavy kick and then walk forward 3 steps before doing, you know, the target combo. What this does is it works as a frame trap in case he mashes, because it allows him to get the normal out that he then counter hits. Or if they're to parry by pressing down or forward, the parry window disappears and then the stand medium hits while they're missing the parry. So the whole game ends up being about altering your timing just slightly to do these little things. And you see several examples of that. Yeah, and as you said, throwing a fireball after a target combo, not throwing a fireball after a target combo, is there to bait red parries or not? And the metagame and the knowledge these players have each other, the top players are typically the ones that see each other in the arcades in these tournaments. They know who's red parrying, who's parrying what, and they have to alter their game plan to get that. So the game becomes a lot more rock, paper, scissors-y in these mix-up situations because you have so many more options.
MOV, if I'm not mistaken, is like supposed to be the best Third Strike player on the planet.
Definitely
but didn't win here, right?
No. That's kind of a hard thing. You know, a lot of people talk about Kuroda. He's like the master of all characters. MOV, considered the best Chun-Li player. It's hard to say. And when it's 5v5 and you have 5 different characters, it's not always the obvious team that wins. It's fun to watch.
Well, guys, that is bringing us to the end of our show. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me switch back here to the Best of 3 logo. We have that Luffy interview. He says a couple of interesting things. He did not tell us. I don't want to spoil it, but let's put it to you this way. He's not going to go unsigned for much longer. As well as he's going to be at every Capcom Pro Tour event that he's willing and able to be at. Go watch the video. It'll be up on YouTube later. We talked to him earlier today. He couldn't come on during the show because of scheduling issues. Thank you so much for watching. I'm your host, Efren Salinas. This is Miguel Danke Schiller. And as always, the Weatherman, Radical Ray Chun. If you guys have any people you want us to book for the show, if there's any things that you want us to talk about and bring on the show to talk about, let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching Best of 3.